every single epic champion and every single faction in Raid Shadow Legends that could be worth building. This is gonna be tough, man. I'm gonna try and make this a quick video, but let's be real, that's not gonna happen, man. Especially because there's champions like Pan the Bowhorn who need to be explained a little bit more, right? If you need something like a hard mode Fire Knight starter champion, double hitter freeze on the A1, he might be worth considering, but it's not obvious. And then of course you've got epics like Ugo that are practically just a must build for everybody because the champ is that good. And in fact, did you know, man, that Ugo is part of our beginner promo link, which you can find down below at the top of the video description box, man. If you ever looking to start off a new Raid Shadow Legends account, then make sure to use that beginner promo link to start your new raid account, man. It'll get you Elnor, it's your free starter legendary. Ugo's one of the epic champions that you get as you level up your account. A whole bunch more epics as well as you level up your account too. Crazy, crazy stuff. Best possible way to start off a new Raid Shadow Legends account, man. So make sure to hit that link if you ever looking to start a new free-to-play adventure or something like that. Okay, man, let's do this. Working our way down, man, starting with the Bannerlords. Absolutely can't stand disclaimers in video like this, by the way, but I'm gonna say it. I kinda do feel like you can make a case for almost every single champion in this game, right, to level them up and take them up to level 60, depending on your account state. And so, if I don't cover a champion in this video, it doesn't mean that I'm like completely writing them off or something. I'm just gonna touch on the guys that I feel like are a big help across most people's accounts. Starting off with Archmage Helmet. This guy is great, right? Normal Doom Tower secret rooms, very, very easy to get your hands on Archmage Helmet. Very, very easy to get your hands on him as an AoE buffer, right, who brings increase crit damage buff on all allies for 210s. This is a really, really useful buff to have for things like speed kill teams and dungeons and stuff like that. And so just having even a level 50 Archmage Helmet on your account is great. Also brings an AoE stun against waves as well. So you just have uses into many, many areas of the game, but specifically could be worth building out for use in those one-shot dungeon teams. I'm going to go ahead and leave Signy as an honorable mention. She doesn't have the best reviews in the world, but she's actually not a bad champion if you go ahead and check out her kit. Stag Knight is an obvious pick for this. We gotta call this guy out, man, for the Bannerlords. Double hitter A1 that has a chance to burst and decrease speed. Great for early game dungeons, spider progression, finite progression, all of that good stuff. And then on the A2, attack all enemies. Decrease defense, decrease attack, 310 cooldown, 210 duration, 100% land rate, all wrapped up in the same skill. 100% land rate when fully booked, that is. Well, curiously, it's a 95% land rate, okay, but I guess it's 100% with full masteries. Stag Knight is obviously absolutely amazing. It's basically a powerhouse everywhere in the game. A champion that's kind of often overlooked among Bannerlords is Giscard the Sigiled. This guy is insane. Brings a decreased attack debuff, high land rate decreased attack debuff on his A1. Great for the early game. Brings an attack all enemies. 75% land rate provoke on a 310 cooldown on the A2. Great wave control. Then brings strong increased defense and strong increased attack on a 310 on the A2 as well. This guy is another just early game powerhouse, man. Having all of those buffs, all of that wave control, all in one kit. Very, very nice indeed. Lady Annabelle, this gal is amazing for two big reasons, but I won't say that, man. I won't say that. That's stealing Nubs' joke, man. I ain't gonna go... Okay, I kinda just did. But yeah, this gal obviously absolutely insane for soloing Dreadhorn Bommel in Doom Tower. Hard mode Doom Tower, you can, as long as you got full masteries on your Lady Annabelle, get her in good enough regeneration gear, meaning enough HP percent and enough speed on your Lady Annabelle, she can solo the hardest difficulties of Dreadhorn Bommel in the entire game. She just handles it, man, which for an epic champ, absolutely worth covering in this list as a result. Finally, among the Void epics, we gotta touch on Ursula. This gal is insane. One of the best epic revivers in the game. Is she in contention for being the very best? Maybe. Some would say, man. 510 cooldown on the A3, revive all dead allies with 75% HP and 50% turn meter. Also places increased defense and strengthen buff on all allies for 3 turns, meaning even if you're not using the skill as a revive, because it's 3 turn duration buffs, you can just use it for the buffs, and the revive can sometimes just be like incidental or a bonus or there if you need it, but it's a great skill for just buffing your champs anywhere. She also brings an AoE decrease attack and increased attack buff on all allies as well for a couple turns on the A2. On the 310, she takes a whole bunch of skill books, but man, she is worth it. On to the High Elves. God, I'm gonna have to make this one quick, man. There's a lot of good High Elves, boys. Okay, we're just gonna work our way across here, because frankly, the first 3 are all great. Royal Guard, amazing. Enemy max HP, scaling damage on, of course, his big heavy hitter A2. Very, very good. Quad hitter on the A3, plus decreased speed, control enemy turn meter. Great into those early dungeons, and because he's dealing max enemy max HP damage on this A2, an amazing, amazing boss killer champion. Even good enough, brings enough to the table to be useful into early game Hydra as well. Yeah, Royal Guard, clap some cheeks, well worth building up, man. Tyrell, this guy slept on a little bit. People say, oh, he's been power crept, he's been power crept. I still think he's amazing. amazing. I think if you get Tyrell early in your account, he's great. Double hitter on the A1 is always great into early finite, brings a very high land rate, decreased attack debuff on this A1 as well. Fantastic into early Demon Lord Clan Boss. His aura is a defense percentage in all battles as well, which is also great into early Clan Boss when you're just getting started in the game. And then on the A2, he brings a whole bunch of... God, I'm stumbling over my words because I thought I was misreading the skill there. This is actually his AoE decreased defense debuff. Amazing stuff. Only downside to this, yes, it's 100% land rate, but it is a 410 cooldown. Even still, I think it's very, very good, especially when you consider that his A3 is pretty good as well. Attacks one enemy, decrease 10 meter by 50%. If the 10 meter gets fully depleted, he places a stun debuff as well. And so, brings a good amount of wave control. Helpful into multiple areas of the game. He's not amazing anywhere in the game, but he's pretty good in enough places that I think that he's still worth consideration. Skiramis, man, 100% land rate, or rather 90% land rate, 10 meter steal on his A1, stealing 15% of the target's current 10 meter. Also got a 30% chance to stun on his A1 if the target's 10 meter is fully depleted by this skill, which is great because Skiramis, of course, buffs himself up with counterattack after provoking enemies, right? He does have a 100% land rate provoke on this A3, which is lovely, especially on a 310 cooldown, lots of wave control, and again, buffs himself up with counterattack and continuous heal on this A3 as well. So he's counterattacking a hell of a lot with a very, very powerful A1 as well, which is great. And then on the A2, he's got attack all enemies, 75% land rate, decrease attack debuff for a couple turns as well. Yeah, the first 3 high elf epics are just very, very good, man. Love Skiramis. Next up, skipping a whole bunch towards the top here, man, we gotta mention Neldor. This guy's crazy good. Attacks 3 times in at random, 40% land rate freeze debuff for 110. Great A1 to have against hard mode finite, but honestly just great in general for sort of freezing up and controlling waves as you go. The guy's actually pretty damn good into attacking waves, to be honest. It's on his A3. He's got himself a 410 cooldown, double hitter attack all enemies, each hit with a chance of placing strong decreased speed. Also heals himself for a little bit of the damage dealt. Then he also brings a quadruple hitter A2. Attacks one enemy 4 times. First and second hit have a chance to place decreased attack. Third and fourth have a chance to place decreased accuracy. Just nice. A huge multi-hitter to bring, once again, into finite to crack through those initial shield stacks. Great champion overall. Right beside Neldor, we've got Vegas. This is also another amazing champ just for like early game survivability in general. Brings a big ally protection buff on all allies except Vegas for a couple turns, and increased defense buff on himself too. So mitigating a hell of a lot of damage on a 310 cooldown. Very good. He's actually particularly good for boosting your team's survivability into finite because he also brings an ally defense aura in dungeons specifically by 33%. So could be pretty damn good for helping you live against Ice Golem and his big old counterattacks with that ally protect and stuff. His passive makes it so that he can solo Scarab King. Now, if you're able to build out your Vegas with high resistance in a destroy set, or I think a toxic set will also work as well. As long as he's got enough resistance that the boss isn't stripping his continuous heal buffs, then whenever his HP drops below 50%, he places continuous heal buff on himself and gets all kinds of shields as well as he's getting attacked in. So he's a great champ for soloing Scarab. Got a lot of utility in this guy. Very good, man. We all love ourselves some Vegas. I think amongst all of the high elf void epics, the only one I really want to touch on is Ethelyn, to be honest. There's probably some champs already that I've skipped, by the way, that people aren't happy about, and that's fine, man. There's going to be some disagreement. There's always some disagreements, some hot takes that go on and stuff, you know. But I think Ethelyn is great. Very good champion. His A1 attacks one enemy, gives himself a shield buff depending on how much damage he deals. He also brings an attack all enemy double hitter that has a chance of placing block active skills debuff. Not bad in PvP and against waves and against Chimera as well, by the way, against Viper form in Chimera. Second is a chance of placing True Fear debuff for 110 against enemies that are not under block active skills. And so, yeah, the True Fear is also good into Chimera as well, by the way, against the Lion form. So, not a bad champ. Not a bad champ. Also hits pretty hard as well, especially when you consider that he also brings himself an increased damage buff as well on A3. So, the guy kind of smacks pretty solid PvP nuker, to be honest. A little bit less utility in Chimera, but he's worth consideration if you're just getting started over there. Bloody hell. I've been recording for like, what, 7-8 minutes already? We're gonna go ahead and step on the gas on this, man. Let's move on to the Sacred Order, where, oh my god, actually, the entire top row of epic champions on Sacred Order, and then some, all the way down to Romero, actually all the way down to Lady Atessa, are just not that great, right? We can kind of skip over all of those, so that's gonna save us a little bit of time there as well. First guy that we've got to shout out, man, is going to be, once he loads up anyway, once he stops being shy, is going to be Mordecai, man. Mordecai's crazy good. It brings an AoE HP burn that places HP burn debuff on enemies for 2 turns. Why do I emphasize that? Also brings increased attack as well on the same skill, but why do I emphasize the fact that he's placing the HP burn? Because if this was attack all enemies has a 100% chance of placing HP burn, well, if you attack into enemies, that gives you a chance to weak hit into enemies that are negative affinity against Force champions, which is what Mordecai is, right? Force affinity champion. Because he's placing the HP burn debuff, it means that your Mordecai can't weak hit, which is lovely against Hydra, it's lovely against Spider, makes him a great HP burn option for an epic champ. Also brings some 10 meter fill and 10 meter decrease in a 3 turn as well on the A2. So just a lovely HP burn option. Now, I think his reviews are quite indicative of the fact that he's kind of just good in like 2 areas of the game, and that he's kind of useless everywhere else. But that's fine. Hydra's a pain, Spider's a pain. Having a champ that specializes in both is quite lovely. Next up we've got Phoenix, the hardest hitting A1 champion probably in the game. I don't know, dude. One of, if not the hardest hitter. So his A1 has like the damage modifier. I think it's like a 4.1 damage multiplier on his A1. Attacks one enemy, place an extra hit if the target has any debuffs, meaning it double hits, making it a 8.2 multiplier. Combine this guy up with a bunch of ally attack champions, and now you got a Phoenix that's pumping a stupid amount of A1 damage. That's frankly ridiculous. Yeah, it also blocks revive as well, by the way, on this A1. The rest of his kit's pretty good as well, but frankly, I just want to draw attention to his A1 because it's absolutely ridiculous, and I have to build my Phoenix sooner rather than later, man. I actually have him like 4 times empowered, but I haven't built him yet. Anyways, Deacon Armstrong, must build, one of the best epic champions in the game. It's funny, man, I got a comment recently talking about, man, I built Deacon Armstrong. He felt useless and didn't help me anywhere. I'm like, how is that even possible? Either you've been playing the game for like 3 years or something already, and your roster is so stacked with ungodly empowered legendaries or something that you just can't genuinely find a use for Deacon anywhere, which I still find hard to believe because, like, Cursed City, secret rooms, that kind of thing, surely you're getting use out of a Deacon somewhere. I mean, the guy brings an ally speed or in all battles. He brings 10 meter fill and decrease. Decrease against enemies, fill for your team. Gets himself an extra turn on this A3 as well, which technically makes it a 2-turn cooldown, 10 meter manipulator skill. Ungodly against waves. Then also brings an attack all enemies, 100% land rate, strong decreased defense on the A2 as well. Oh yeah, and did I mention, he brings Leech in a double hitter with his A1. Absolutely insane. Deacon has still got it. Next champ we're going to touch on is moving straight onto the Void epics, to be honest. I'm not sure anybody else is really worth mentioning here, but Cardinal is ridiculous. This is a champ that you probably don't know exists until you start playing live arena, and then it's like Cardinal shows up and you never forget her, man. What can I say? She leaves an imprint on your heart in a terrible way because the A3 is so painful to go up against. Revives all dead allies, right? So you put her in Stone Skin or whatever, make sure that she lives. Heals them by only 25% of the max HP or whatever. But boosts their 10 meter to max? Wait, what? So she revives her entire team, and then they all get to make a turn instantly against your dumbass, and then you're really sad and you just leave the live arena. That's basically Cardinal in a nutshell. You know, those like Go Second style teams, put her in Stone Skin. Yeah, she's insane. Next up, we've got Inquisitor Shamil. This is a champion that I'm building out right now on my account, farming up the last of his masteries just now. Unbelievable. So he's got a very hard-hitting A2, which is great and all. 3-turn cooldown, triple hitter, ignores some enemy defense. Lovely stuff. Shamil's real power comes in the form of his passive, which I'm just going to hone in on. Each crit fills this champion's 10 meter by 7.5%. Okay, fine. Whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear debuff from an enemy, no cooldown on this passive, by the way, this skill will instantly remove the debuff and fill the team leader's 10 meter by 15%. His passive is like mythical champion quality against Hydra, right? It's insane. So whenever the Head of Torment is active in Hydra, anytime any of your champions so much as sniff the Head of Torment, they get a true fear debuff, except they don't, because Inquisitor Shamil just cleanses it and then boosts the 10 meter of your team leader, which, I don't know, could be like a Thor or something on your team, just getting constant boosts, 15% 10 meter, 15% 10 meter. Absolutely insane, a cheat code into Hydra. Next up, we've got Godseeker Neri. We've got to touch on this gal. She's insane. She allows for duo farming teams to solo all the way up to stage 25 of Sand Devil's Necropolis. Yeah, she's absolutely insane. Crazy support in other areas of the game as well. Healer for Amius, that kind of thing. Very good, man. Big heals on the A1, big AoE heals on the A2. Crazy single target revive that also resets the target's skill cooldowns on the A3, and then on the passive, if an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempt that hit and place a revive on death buff on them instantly before the damage is taken, meaning her passive is also just an auto revive that can go off even when it's not her turn. So yeah, she's pretty special, pretty insane. Next up, man, that brings us to the Barbarian faction, which frankly, I think there's only like, maybe, okay, I guess there's a couple of epic champions that we could point out in the very first line up and all over here. I think Amina is worth a mention. If you haven't built Hoskarul as a wave controller for your Barbarians, like epic quality wave controller for your Barbarian faction, you've probably built Amina, and if you haven't built Amina, you've probably built Hoskarul, you know what I'm saying? So Amina, yeah, she brings a chance to stun on the A1, she brings to attack all enemies decreased defense and 10 meter steal on the A2, and then she brings decreased 10 meter of all enemies by 20% on the A3, has a 100% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have their 10 meters fully depleted. Also, fill this champion's 10 meter by 10% each time an enemy receives a stun debuff. So she's just a powerhouse wave controller. She's going to trivialize faction wars waves for your Barbarian faction to a great extent and just buy you a stupid amount of time. So all you've really got to worry about is killing the boss at the end. Yeah, she's crazy good. I guess I'll just cover Hoskarul next because they're very, very similar champions. He also brings chance to stun on his A1, brings an AoE stun on his A2. Pretty high land rate, 75%. Not bad. Also decrease the temporary of enemies under stun debuffs by 15%. Hoskarul also brings strong version increased defense buff for your entire team. And interestingly on his passive as well, increase the damage inflicted by all allies by 15% when attacking enemies under stun debuffs. You can see they kind of do a similar job. I think they're both amazing wave controllers and are both worth a mention. You know who else is worth a mention on the top row, man? Good old Alika. This gal is crazy as hell. Is it an A2? Is it an A2 or an A3? Okay, so the A3 is pretty darn good as well. Actually, I'll cover both of them, man. Attacks all enemies, 100% chance of increasing the cooldown of all enemy skills by 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah, amazing for Go First Arena teams, Classic Arena, that kind of thing. She's going to do a huge amount of work there. She's going to severely limit the amount of damage and utility that enemy waves of enemies are actually putting out against your team as well, so she's going to have use in wave content too. And then her A2 hits like an absolute train. Okay, it's just a joke. Attacks one enemy will ignore 50% of the target's defense if their max HP is higher than this champion's max HP. Given that she's a nuker, that's going to be like 99% of the time, right? She's going to have less HP than the enemy. This thing has crazy modifiers and basically one-shot stuff. Yeah. That's Alika, man. I think that she's definitely worth a shout out. I'll go ahead and I guess I'll like honorable mention Jamasa here just because she brings a revive, and if you do get her, great, you know, bully for you, but I think she's like a referral champ. Might be wrong about that, but she can be a little bit awkward to get, I think. Ward Painted. This is actually a champion that a lot of people sleep on, a champion I'm quite excited to go ahead and actually build out and try myself and get like some first-hand experience seeing how she feels. She brings all kinds of block active skills debuffs on the A1 and on the A3 as well. Potential Chimera use? Maybe. Kind of. Probably not. She just brings some pretty sweet healing as well. She works quite well in a reflex set, getting as much spammage out of this A2 as possible, right? It's a 4-turn cooldown when booked. Remove all debuffs from this champion and 1 random debuff from all allies. Then heal this champion by 100% of their max HP. She's an HP-based champ, by the way. Heal all allies equal to 50% of the surplus heals. Afterwards, place a reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns and grant this champ an extra turn, meaning it's actually a 3-turn cooldown, which is lovely. And it also means that she gets just an instant chance at triggering her reflex set if you have her in a reflex artifact set as well. And so get that cooldown flying down, crazy amount of debuff cleanse, crazy amount of incoming healing. Yeah, Ward Painted, man. I believe in Ward Painted, at least. Haikatoon, everybody knows Haikatoon. She's insane. 10 meter boost, speed boost, AoE 10 meter control. An amazing free champ that's often slept on because of how accessible she is. Farrakhan is absolutely insane. Brings poison and HP burn wrapped up in the same skill on a 3-turn, and probably one of the best ally attack skills in the game as far as epic champions are concerned, buffing your entire team's crit damage and crit rate. And then throwing your entire team, apart from Farrakhan himself, into the attack on a 4-turn cooldown. Just very, very good. I mean, a solid champion all around, great into many areas of the game. Fantastic, of course, for Demon Lord, where he's got himself a 4.9 rating. Fire Knight, yep, I agree with most of these ratings. Very, very good champion overall. Brings us smoothly on to the Ogryn Tribes faction, where, I'm going to try and be like a little bit strict with these guys, a little bit less lenient. Ugo's obviously got to make the list. What are we talking about, man? Debuff cleanse, all kinds of healing, a crazy Exodia, like passive and heal combination where Ugo can revive your entire team if they can conditions are just right. In AoE, that brings decreased defense and block buffs wrapped up in the same skill with 100% land rate. Yes, please. You know what I'm saying? Ugo is obviously absolutely excellent and deserves a shout out. Siege Hulk is actually fantastic as well. This is a champion I'm going to be featuring in a video pretty soon, by the way. It's going to be quite a fun video, by the way. I think you guys are going to really like it. We're trying to build like the ultimate epic champion team for like getting stage 25 in all normal dungeons. More just to show if it can be done with like a single composition of epic champions. I think there's going to be some mixed results, but it's going to be great. Anyway, man, Siege Hulk brings a self buff for increased attack on his A2, which is a great stat. Then attacks all enemies, 100% chance of placing decreased defense debuff for a couple of turns. Very, very nice. On the A3, buffs himself with increased crit damage, then attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing decreased speed on the target for a couple of turns. Again, not bad. Siege Hulk is actually one of those nukers that's... I feel like he's a good like 7 or 8 out of 10 nuker in most PvE areas of the game. He's not like... It's just not really like a super specialist in any one area. I especially say that because on his A1, check this out, man. Attacks one enemy, decrease the target's 10 meter by 15%. If the target's under decreased defense or decreased speed, he brings both of these buffs, and so more often than not, where you need the 10 meter decrease against things like potentially Fire Knight, Spider, you know, he does actually bring the 10 meter decrease, the 10 meter control on the A1 as well. I think he's a very, very solid and slept on champion. Lorne is actually a pretty good little nuker, but I won't go into his kit too much. Brings some good like 10 meter control, AoE, leech debuffs, that kind of thing. Not like a must build by any stretch. Skull Crusher, situational, but incredible if he's just what you need to get your clan boss team up and running. Brings an AoE, well, obviously an AoE, a huge ally protection buff on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown, and also places counterattack buff on all allies as well for a couple turns, massively spiking both your survivability and your damage into Demon Lord. Very, very, very good epic champ overall. Shatterbones, I will mention Shatterbones just because of his utility in the wave content. I think that it, honestly, his A2 is nuts. I think it's unbelievable. Yes, it's a 4-turn cooldown, but it's a triple AoE hitter with a 75% chance on every hit of decreasing enemy 10 meter by 30%. So like, it just annihilates the entire wave of enemies 10 meter in a single click. And yes, you can only do it every 4 turns, but bloody hell, man, get the guy in like Relentless or Reflex gear. He kind of just takes care of wave control completely for your Ogryn Tribes faction. I like the guy. Next up, we've got to touch on Grush. You get this guy quite late as a log and reward champion, or at least that's how most people are going to be getting him. This is just a great catch-all champion for just adding a stupid amount of survivability to your team. Brings Leech on the A1, AoE decreased attack debuff and decreased crit damage buff on the A2, and then on the A3, attacks all enemies, places big old continuous heal as well on the A3. And so, yeah, lovely. Great. He's going to massively increase survivability into things like Demon Lord, Ice Golem, and stuff like that, if you still need that by the time that you get him. Maneater is obviously an unbelievable champion as well, bringing, of course, well, just enabling things like Maneater unkillable teams into Demon Lord. Great for survival against wave content and stuff like that as well. Just a fine champion overall. I think I'll go ahead and touch on good old Skrank. I think Skrank deserves it. Yeah, much like Mordecai, Skrank cannot weak hit with his AoE HP burn debuff, not because he's placing the debuff or anything, he's just a void affinity epic, and so he can't weak hit, right, against all of these different affinities that he's going to be going up against. And so 100% land rate, HP burn, very, very nice. Also fills his 10 meter by 15% with this skill as well, as long as at least one hit is hit with a crit. And so, grit. Brings an increased attack buff on himself as well, weaken on his A1. Just all in all, a very, very good epic champ. Actually, we're one of the champions that got me started into Hydra, man, with that good AoE HP burn. You know what? I wasn't going to touch on Ogryn, but I guess I will touch on him real quick. Great poisoner, not bad into Dragon, not bad into Demon Lord, stuff like that. If you pull him early on, can be worth building. Double hit at A1, each hit with a chance of placing the strong version of poison. Not a bad land rate as well when bucked up at 45% on this. Brings a whole bunch of healing. Not too shabby, debuff cleanse, all of that, and also brings double poison on the A3 as well, and also continuous heal buff as well on a 4-turn cooldown. Not a bad little champ. Oh, and his speed aura is actually all battles too, so there you go, good old Ogryn. I think that he's probably worth the shout out as well. Okay, scooting on to the Lizardmen, where we don't have that many epics to cover. First up, we've got Jareg. I think this guy is worth touching on. Brings an aura, HP in all battles, 33%. Very, very good right off the get-go. Also brings strong version, decrease attack as well on the A1. Very, very nice to have. Ally Protect and increase defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. It is on a 4-turn cooldown, which is a bit awkward. You want your Jarek to be running quite fast as a result of this so that he can have this buff up as much as possible across your entire team, lest it fall off with it being a 4-turn cooldown. But very, very good. Also, his passive applies continuous heal buff to allies for 1 turn if they lose 20% of the max HP in a single hit. No cooldown on this, no a limit on how many times it can be spammed out. Your entire team is hit with a huge AoE, then your entire team is going to be buffed with that continuous heal, which is nice. Great champ for progression in, Ice Golem and all of that kind of stuff. Just solid overall. Next up, we've got Venomage. AoE poisons, ability to instantly trigger poisons as well, or rather activate poison debuffs with the A1. Very, very good. Also, of course, brings a heal reduction debuff as well on the A3, making him a clutch epic champ to rank up for kind of everybody, given how important heal reduction is for Amius in Cursed City. You kind of need, well, you don't need that buff. You can get by without it, I guess. But it makes the fight a hell of a lot easier if you have the heal reduction debuff to pop at just the right time. And given that you are limited with which factions that you can use against Amius with every cycle of Doom Tower, it's great to have multiple champs that bring that heal reduction. And so Venomage, I think, is just generally a good idea to build for most people. Orcs is a great support champion. Very, very solid. Earlier on that you get your hands on him, of course, the better he's going to turn out. Qui-Gon is a solid support champ. I feel like most people kind of sleep on Qui-Gon, to be honest. I think that most people sort of underestimate this A3 and just how good it is, maybe because of the long cooldown, but it's a 4-turn cooldown, plays Perfect Veil and increased attack buff on allies who have higher attack than defense. And for allies that have higher defense than attack, he places block debuffs and increased defense instead. So very, very versatile support that brings just the perfect buffs that all of your team need in things like wave content and stuff like that. Also brings some big old AoE healing and shielding as well on the A2, and that is on a 3-turn cooldown, so it's going to boost your survivability by quite a bit. I believe in Qui-Gon. I think that he's worth a mention in this video. Broadmoor as a reviver is solid, and Slixus as a damage dealer is pretty good. Is Slixus' aura in all battles? Okay, it's only in arena battles, which sucks a little bit. That's a point away from Slixus right there. But he's not too bad. Attack all enemies before attacking. He buffs himself with increased crit rate, increased crit damage, meaning, yeah, you don't have to, you can just build him up with 70% crit rate and he can do a job and smack with this A3, and then he brings a double hit at A1 with a chance of placing stun, so just a solid damage dealer. Not a must build by any means, but if you're lacking damage dealers for your Lizardmen, then good old Slixie can do a pretty good job. Onto the Skinwalkers. God, I feel like the Skinwalkers have crap epics, man. I feel like they do. I don't know, man. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong or if you disagree with this, but I kind of feel like the entire first row of Skinwalker epics are just not great. Like, I don't believe in Rhyme Beast, Flesh Scabrius. I tried them out way back in the day, didn't really feel it, I feel like the first decent epic to pop out for Skinwalkers probably going to be Hoveries. Great epic quality reviver for the Skinwalkers faction, brings a double revive on his A3 on a 5-turn cooldown, some 10 meter fill, also places a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns as well, which is just a nice little bonus. What does he bring for the rest of his kit? Well, let me tell you. Brings a 25, or rather a 30% land rate stun on his A1 with a double hitter, so not bad at all. And then on the A2, increased attack buff, increased crit buff on all allies for 2 turns. Not bad at all. Next up, and that brings us to Steel Skull, who is right beside Hoveries, also just a pretty good support style champ, double hitter A1 again. This one being a 35% chance of placing a poison debuff for a couple of turns. Brings some debuff cleanse as well, some big old healing, single target, albeit on the A2. Then increased defense and big old heal as well on the A3. A fine support champion. Again, you pull him early on in the game, you might just build yourself a Steel Skull. Next up, that brings us to Fane, next champion along. This is a great champion. Double hitter A1 with a chance of stealing a little bit of enemy 10 meter. Fane is really just, she just exists for Demon Lord Clan Boss. I'm not sure why she's got all of these. Like, I feel like the Fane really is like a 2 or a 3 out of 5 in every area apart from Demon Lord. At least for me, that's my opinion on it, because she just brings everything you need into Demon Lord. She's such a specialist, man, into Clan Boss. Double poison, decreased attack on the A2. Strong versions, really nice, 3-10 cooldown. And then she brings decreased defense and weaken on a 4-10 cooldown on the A3, except it's got a 3-10 duration, so it doesn't matter that it's a 4-10 cooldown, you know what I mean? Very good. Like, basically all of the major debuffs that you want to bring against Demon Lord Clan Boss, Fane has got them covered. Very good specialist champion. I think both the Rancid is actually worth the consideration as well. Not a bad little champion. Brings a little bit of healing on the A3, a good amount of debuff cleanse, removing all debuffs, 2 debuffs from all allies on the A3. Not a bad champ. Also, his passive reduces the poison damage that your team takes as well. Could be quite useful into something like Nether Spider when you're progressing through Doom Tower and stuff like that. I think both can do a little bit of a job for you. Bash is worth a consideration as well. Pretty good champ. I do have a Basher belt on my account. Brings a big old A2, which reads attack all enemies, increase the cooldown of all enemy skills by 2/10s on a 3/10 cooldown. Just great wave control. Pseudo random, or rather attack 4 times at random, 100% land rate, block buffs, debuff for a couple tenths as well on the A3. So good damage. Good wave control, good utility, not a bad little epic champ if you're looking for damage and a bit of wave control action for Faction Wars for your Skinwalkers. Brings us on down to the rest of the Void epics, where Kemptum is of course definitely going to be worth a mention. A triple hit at A1 with a chance of placing poison on hit. Also a huge debuff spread effect as long as the enemy is under a hex debuff, which of course a Kemptum does bring. Attack all enemies 3 times each hit with a 75% chance of increasing the duration of any hex debuffs or of placing hex debuffs, and so very nice. And of course with the Kemptum's ridiculous passive, sort of like echoing poison damage across all enemies whenever one enemy takes poison damage, a ridiculously good champion for hard mode Spider's Den as well. Great champion to build out. This is a champion I do have and I'm looking forward to using as I progress further in hard mode Spider. It's going to be great. Frenzy is probably worth a build as well. This is a champion that I've neglected to mention and stuff in past videos, but not a bad champ, man. Activates each HP burn on the A1, 3 times random hitter, 100% land rate HP burn on the A2 as well. Quite good. Some 10 meter fill on this too. And then on the A3, and attack all enemies, 100% land rate, provoke debuff as well. Not bad. 410 cooldown, which sucks a little bit, but then again, if this was a 310 cooldown, you're probably looking at one of the best, like, early game-ish, like just pretty good champions for getting started in Hydra that you're going to come across, right? Bringing HP burn and provoke in the same kit would be sort of nuts. I mean, she does bring that, but it's a long cooldown provoke, is my point, so not completely reliable for Hydra, but not bad at all. And lastly, man, we've got Yuzan the Maroon, who is a very new champion to the game. Actually, the epic component champion in the current fusion that's going on for Lysanthiya. Not bad. A lot of debuff transfer, a lot of buff cleanse, like removing buffs from enemies. Not bad at all, man. Removes 1 random debuff from all allies, heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP, and places block debuffs buff and allies for 2/10s as well. It is on a 410 cooldown, but as far as epic champions go, a lot of healing, a lot of sustainability, a lot of utility with like cleansing enemy buffs and stuff like that. Not bad at all, man. Yuzan the Marooned. Probably a keeper for most people, to be honest. In fact, I think that most people are going to end up having Yuzan by the time that the current Lysanthiya fusion is done. Then people are going to have Lysanthiya, put it that way, Next up, the Orcs faction, and god, my throat's starting to get a little bit zingly. I really should have prepared a drink before doing this video, man, but moving on, man, to the Orcs faction. Ultimate Gallic's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, he places HP burn. Not mega reliable, not exactly a great champ, but I do have a special place in my heart for pretty much any HP burn champion, so can be worth holding on to and building just so that you're ready for Frost Spider whenever Frost Spider pops up in Curse City and you can only use Orc attack champions or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Beside Ultimate Gallic, we have Duck the Pierce. This guy is an absolute monster, bro. Double hitter A1, chance of blessing, decreased accuracy debuff for a couple turns. Also brings an attack all enemies A2, 310 cooldown, 100% land rate, strong decreased attack, and has a 100% chance of placing strong decreased defense debuff against enemies on each critical hit. So because Duck is a defense-based champ, you kind of want to build him out with like crit damage gauntlets and then like defense percentage chestplate. A little bit weird to build him, but very sort of a Stag Knight-esque in his ability to place these two very beautiful debuffs at the same time in the same skill. And as if that wasn't all, man, also brings a 410 cooldown, provoke all enemies. Very good indeed. Next up, we've got the Giga Chad support, starting off with Old Hermit Yorg. This guy is amazing, by the way. This guy is a fantastic support champion for the Orcs. 40% land rate HP burn on the A1, lovely. Increased attack buff on the A2, also 10 meter fill on the A2 on a 310 cooldown. Very nice. And then brings a double revive plus perfect veil buff on the revived allies, 210s on the A3 on a 510 cooldown. Absolutely insane, and the direct rival of good old Tagore, man. So Tagore's great as well. Also brings an attack all enemies A2, places increased speed buff on allies for 210s, and does a little bit of healing across your entire team as well. I think that Tagore's A2 probably the increased speed. Like Tagore's A2 feels a little bit better for me, a little bit more useful in more areas of the game than Yorg's, but Both very, very good. And then they both bring a revive as well on the A3. To goals being a revive all allies, and also place a shield buff for 2 turns on all allies for 20% of this champ's max HP. What I will say is that the AI, when it's using to go on auto battle, is a little bit dumb, and it will just use this A3 to place a shield on your allies. And then it's on a 5-turn cooldown, even when he's fully booked. And so if anybody dies, you sometimes have to wait a few turns for Tagore to get to use this skill again, because the AI is a little bit dumb and will just use it to place the shield, whereas you don't have that problem with Old Hermit York. He just won't use the A3 ever, obviously, until somebody's dead. Both very, very good champions, though. Next to men, Zagala. Oh my god, man. If you didn't see the video, which I did with Zagala, where we were hitting... Dude, we were smacking hard mode dragon, like stage 6 hard mode dragon, when I was testing out this champion and like some of my best gear on the account and stuff, for like 680k hits with this A2, man. Lovely, lovely stuff, man. So set attack one enemy instantly activates the A3 if an enemy is killed by this A2. Very, very nice. It's a 2-turn cooldown as well, by the way. Hits pretty damn hard. And then, you know, if you get the kill, it instantly triggers the A3, which is a 4-turn cooldown. Attack all enemies 3 times, and after the first hit, you got a chance of placing decreased defense debuff on an AoE as well. So, very, very good. Also places weaken on the A1 too. So, she's actually just a pretty good dragon killer champion overall. Great against waves, great in the faction wars. I wasn't sure about Zagala until I really extensively tested her out in the video that went up recently on the channel, man. I was very, very impressed. Really, really fun champion to play with as well. Okay, next up, man, we have got... I mean, are we going to go ahead and cover Sandlashed? Good old Sandlashed is pretty damn good as well. I think she hits like a truck. Never actually play tested her myself, but I've heard great things about Sandlashed Survivor. Quite solid. Sia is obviously just the hardest hitting wave nuker in the game. The more buffs you got on your team, the more ridiculous, absurd tsunami of damage this A3 becomes. Yeah, probably the most powerful wave nuker in the game, I think. At least definitely amongst the epic champions. And then finally we've got 2Hack, who again is a champion that I haven't built out myself. Reading 2Hack's kit, I'm never that convinced that 2Hack is going to be that great, but then I see everybody raving about him. I see like the reviews and stuff, and I think, well, maybe there's something I'm missing with this champion. The reviews actually aren't that impressive in game. To be fair, now that I look at them. But correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of feel like 2Hack the Wanderer is one of those champs where, like, the earlier you get him on your account, he's just kind of solid everywhere. He doesn't really specialize into any one particular area of the game. And so sort of the earlier you can build him on your account, the more value he's going to offer as you're progressing. Next up, man, the Demonspawn faction. God, I'm not gonna lie, my eyes are getting a little bit dry now at this point, but we're just going to push on through this, boys. It's going to be a solid one, okay? I wonder how many champions I've skipped that people are angry about so far, man. Don't get too upset, man. Please, put a lot of effort into this video. And at the end of the day, I can't cover everything. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, one champion we do have to touch on is Allure, who is, frankly, a Fire Knight normal mode cheat code champion who can completely solo handle the boss's 10-meter mechanics and just ensure that the boss never gets a turn with a triple hit at A1, decrease target's 10 meter by 25% on each critical hit, 100% land rate 10 meter decrease as long as she got like crit rate gauntlets. I mean, are you kidding me? Allure is obviously absolutely ridiculous. Akoth is worth a mention as well. This guy's solid. Attacks all enemies, 20% chance of placing HP burn debuff for 2 turns. However, the chance of placing the debuff increases by 20% for each alive enemy, meaning you're never going to have a problem landing this against either Hydra or Spider's Den, which are like 2 main areas where HP burn is going to be very, very important, barring like Frost Spider. That brings us swiftly onto Nazana, who is one of the 2 insane god tier stun set champions. If you can get Nazana leveled up, get her moving fast, and get her equipped in a stun artifact set, oi, 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 you've got a ridiculous amount of wave control coming out of this champ with attack all enemies on the A1. She brings ally protect as well on the A2, and then another attack all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3, which also brings along strong version decrease attack. Ridiculous for your team survival, man. The next amazing champion for the stun set is actually right beside her in the form of Infernal Baroness, who also brings an attack all enemies on the A1. A2 also brings a chance, would you know that? Another attack all enemies, another AoE decrease attack. What the hell, man? These 2 champions are just like the same champion. I kind of love it. Brings perfect veil buff as well on the A3. But yeah, 2 fantastic demon gals for use in a stun artifact set. Very, very good. Next up, we've got Achak the Wenderin, aka the cheat code champion, for ensuring that 0 spiderlings ever in Spider's Den ever get a turn, and your team gets stupid 10-meter fill during the process, man. Dude, I gotta do a showcase video for this champion soon. He's a joke, and like nobody talks about Anchak the Wanderer, man. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, the A3, it's really all about the A3. Attacks all enemies, 90% chance of placing freeze debuff for 1 turn on enemies whose attack is higher than their defense, such as spiderlings, and also has a it's 95% chance, I guess, booked in with masteries, chance of placing HP ban on enemies whose defense is equal to or higher than their attack, such as the spider boss. You know what I'm saying? So, very, very good A3, 3-turn cooldown, lovely stuff. Read the passive. Just read it. Fine, I'll read it for you, man. Fill the 10 meter of all allies by 10%, all allies by 10%, every time an enemy under a freeze debuff gets a turn. Like, what are we talking about here, man? That's an insane amount of 10 meter. That's 120% 10 meter fill in Spider's Den. If you just keep on freezing the spiders over and over and over, this passive, it has no cooldown. It has no cooldown, dude. It's unbelievable, right? It's unbelievable. This guy is the engine and is going to completely solo Spider's Den for you in terms of controlling the spiderlings. Then as long as you control the boss's 10 meter with another champ or two on the team, you're good. Like, normal mode spider is solved by Anchak the Wanderer, dude. It's absolutely insane stuff. Moving swiftly on to Magna, pretty goddamn powerful epic nuker. Little bit limited in where he's good in the game, more of like an early game classic arena nuker, that kind of guy, but good into wave content as well. Brings in attack all enemies on his A2, 3-turn cooldown, place an extra hit on enemies without HP burn debuffs, which most of the time, depending on what team you put him in, is going to be all enemies, which means, yeah, you get to smack really, really hard with the A2, and that's great. However, if enemies do have HP burn debuff, then you'll place a stun debuff on enemies instead. Well, it's a 50% land rate stun. So, not too bad, man. I think Magna is worth a mention for sure. Dua is actually one of the epic champ revivers for the Demonspawn. Not too bad, worth a shout out. Takada is a very interesting poison champ who actually applies poisons every time your team land critical hits through a passive. Interesting champ, little bit weird, little bit niche. Umbral Enchantress, though, is definitely worth a shout out as well. Brings an attack all enemies, 100% chance of placing block buffs, debuff for 3 stinking turns. So great option for an early game, or just like a Hydra champ for throwing block buffs up against the Hydra heads and having that active at all times. With there being Void Affinity, she's not going to weak hit with that as well, which is great. And then she brings a 2-turn duration attack all enemies provoke on the A3, which is a little bit weird because it blocks her out from using her active skills for 5 turns after using this. And the block active skills debuff cannot be resisted, blocked, and cannot be removed, except that's not exactly true, because if you provoke all enemies in a wave of enemies, then you kill that wave and you move on to the next wave, you lose all debuffs on your team. And so technically, there is actually a way to remove the block active skills debuff that you get from using this skill, and you can provoke the next wave, and so on. So, yeah, very, very unique epic champion. Very, very good. Wave control, early Hydra, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, moving on then to the Undead Hordes. Bolgrab, worth a mention, is the very first epic champ. Brings increased attack, 10 meter fill, and an AoE revive. Very, very, very solid for your Undead Hordes faction in most areas of the game. Great for faction wars, that kind of thing. I think that Seeker is worth a little bit of a closer look. People underestimate, or at least I did as a newer player in Raid, just how good Seeker is. This guy can be the engine of your team real easy. 10 meter fill of 30% across all allies. Increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns, then gets an extra turn, making this skill kind of similar to Deacon Armstrong's A3, making the skill effectively a 2-turn cooldown, which is insane when you think of how much 10 meter fill this thing is given. He can really get your team firing real quick. Also, his A1 is a double hitter with a chance of placing Provoke, 50% land rate Provoke. Not bad for like an epic champion's A1. You can even use Seeker as an early game Hydra provoker if you're really desperate for a provoke champion. Your Seeker will try to target the head of Decay whenever he can with this A1, as per like recent-ish changes to the AI in the game when it comes to like auto battling with your Seeker. So he can actually work like in a pinch if you're really, really desperate for a Hydra provoker, man. Solid champ. Dark Elhain is a great nuker. Chance of placing decreased speed. I think it's like 75% land rate, decreased speed. on her AoE. She does also self-buff with increased attack as well before attacking on in with that AoE, and of course she's a pretty good counter to freeze enemies, things like Torment and Arena, things like Ice Golem, stuff like that. She could be pretty damn good, man. Husk is another one of those champs that you see commonly built out across like most people's account. Has a chance to place Provoke on the A1, kind of similar in function to how you might want to be using the Provoke on Seeker, as we already covered into Hydra, except Husk is going to be bringing the pain, right? 410 cooldown on his A2, attack all enemies, chance of placing stun debuff for a 10, so good into wave content, but damage is based on enemy max HP, meaning the guy can hit like an absolute truck against bosses and against Hydra as well. So Husk, great champion. Mausoleum Mage is another amazing support champ. AoE increased defense, brings some like debuff cleanse, all of that kind of stuff. Places a 110 duration block debuffs buff across your team too. Just a great overall support champ. Vorgoth is, oh my god, man. Vorgoth is way better than he seems. Again, as a new player, you might underestimate just how good Vorgoth is, man. The triple hit at A1 is just lovely for progression into Finite. Of course, the A2, 310 cooldown, attack all enemies, 75% land rate provoke debuff on all enemies for a 10. Also has a 75% chance of placing decreased attack on enemies who get the provoke. So great amount of wave control, great amount of extra survivability, which is even further increased by his passive, which reads whenever this champion is attacked, heal all allies by 50% of the damage received. Only heals for 25% of damage taken from boss attacks, but still very good. Still a great champion. Great into Finite. Great into Ice Golem for some extra support and healing there as well, and just getting you to the boss, right, and getting you through the waves. Yeah, Vorgoth, lovely. Next up we have Anax, who is basically the Fane of the Undead Hordes faction. If you don't have a Fane on your account and you're still struggling at a Demon Lord and you happen to pull an Anax instead of the Fane, he's great too. He doesn't bring quite as many of the super crucial debuffs into Demon Lord. I think, does he lack Weaken? No, he brings the Weaken. Okay, what he lacks is the decreased attack debuff. So he doesn't bring decreased attack, but he does bring a double hitter, decreased defense on the A1, he brings decreased accuracy and poison on the A2, and then he brings Weaken on the A3. So it brings almost all of the debuffs that you want into Demon Lord. Still a very good champion for that purpose, still a great Demon Lord clan boss specialist. For me, not quite as good as Fane, but yeah, a very close second. Next up, and Ostrox is also worth a mention as well. If you're getting started in the game and you don't have any champs that are able to place the block buffs debuff, then Ostrox Bondglaive can be one of those options that you can take into Hydra. He's Void Affinity, so a little bit harder to get, but being Void Affinity can't weak hit against the Hydra heads, and so that's always a great bonus as well. It's also a 310 duration block buffs debuff, by the way, against Hydra, so very good. And this brings us smoothly on to the Dark Elves faction, man, where, ooh, what are we looking at here, man, on the first line? I mean, Kaiden is a very solid champ all in all. Brings a good old revive, good old decreased attack on an AoE on the A2. Very solid champ if you're just looking for a support for your Dark Elves faction. Dark Kale is basically a legendary who, for some reason, Plarium just accidentally put the epic tag on. I don't know what to tell you. He's just that good. Brings an attack all enemy. Oh, sorry, not attack all. Brings a triple hitter on his A1, which is great. Has a chance of activating poison and HP burn debuffs on this A1, which is fantastic, of course, into Demon Lord, into Dragon, all of that good stuff. Brings an attack all enemies on the A2, 100% chance of placing strong decreased attack. Each crit also has a chance of increasing the duration of debuffs on the target by 110. I can just, the more I read his kit and reread his kit, the more I just can't believe how good he is. And then on the A3, 100% chance of placing 3 poison debuffs and poison sensitivity debuff on the target for 2 turns. Yeah. Dragon be gone. I don't know, man. Like, if you're still having issues reaching like hard mode Dragon, and even against hard mode Dragon, Dark Kill, just insane. Even as passive as a joke. Decrease the crit rate of enemies into 2 or more poison debuffs by 15%. Like, even that's solid into Dragon for progression as well. Yeah, just an amazing epic champion. The only thing that sucks about Dark Kale is that it takes a while to get your hands on him. I think Durandil's worth a mention. Durandil brings some pretty decent AoE damage with his A2. He's a little bit of a one-dimensional champion that he kind of just smacks stuff, doesn't bring like a whole lot of utility, but you might be able to catch some nerds by surprise via this A3, which is a 410 cooldown, attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense, and yes, the modifiers on this skill are good. This guy can smack. This guy smacks real hard, man. I've seen people test this guy in live arena and stuff. Yeah. most people are shocked by how hard this A3 can hit. And he can also be a little bit of like a starter kit champion as well into hard finite. With a double hit at A1, each hit with a chance of placing freeze, the chance increases to 30% of placing this freeze on each critical hit, which you should be building with 100% crit anyway. Yeah, interesting, often overlooked Dark Elf epic right there in Durandal. And we've got a whole load of crap, frankly. I mean, Fang Cleric is fine if you're really desperate for a reviver. It's fine, I suppose. Scroll on down a little bit. Sylar is an amazing little void champion. Brings an attack all enemies on the A1. Brings another attack all enemies on the A2, placing decreased accuracy. And I think that the way that people tend to use Sylar is in a cursed set in Hydra. It's just like a damage dealer-ish hex placing creature. And of course, there's a little bit of a niche use, to be honest, to be using Sylar like that in Hydra, but I've seen it done. More so used in wave content, right? Stun set, you know, just controlling the hell out of enemy waves, which is also buoyed by how good her A3 is. Place a decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 40%. Bro. That's nuts. I mean, it's on a 410 cooldown, and it should be, because it's that ridiculously good. Yeah, fantastic, fantastic wave controller epic right here in Sylar. Madame Ceres is also absolutely worth a mention as well. The A3, 410 cooldown, albeit, but remove all buffs from all enemies. Place a decreased attack debuff and decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns as well. Just very, very nice. Great champion. Also brings some buff steal as well on an AoE. On the A2, place a block debuffs buff on all allies as well for 2 turns. Yeah, I mean, just a very, very good high utility support champion that I think most people would build out if you pull yourself a Ceres. Okay, man. On to the Knights Revenant. For the Knights Revenant faction, God, you're gonna have to forgive me if I start like blasting through these a little bit, man. I just got my eyes are getting dry. I need a drink. I need to take a breather. I'm starting to sweat. I'm gonna start going into convulsions soon. But we're gonna start things off now with Miscreated Monster. I mean, this guy's just insane. He brings Ally Protect, which is crazy as hell. Brings an attack all enemies. 50% chance of placing stun for a 10 on his A2. Also places shield buff on all allies for 3 turns, which is not insignificant. Equal to 25% of the damage inflicted. And so actually building the guy out with like 100% crit at least, maybe like throwing a crit damage amulet on there and stuff as well, can be well worth it on your Miscreated Monster just to get that shield nice and swollen, man. We'll just leave that there. Solid, man. Very, very good. Next up we've got good old Senesha, equalizes HP, massive heal on a long cooldown on an A3, does have an attack all enemies A1. Very, very good champ, all in all. Using like some kind of like blender arena comps and stuff sometimes, so let's be real, like falling out of favor just a little bit, but still a solid champ. Next to man, Doom Priest. Great champion. Amazing if you're just getting started in Hydra, you need a good reliable cleanser. Solid for the same reason into things like Nether Spider as well. Makes you basically immortal against Frost Spider, you just never have to worry about the freezes anymore. Great into Amius. Just a great champ with a lot of uses, all down to the passive, heals all allies by 7.5% of their HP, and remove 1 random debuff from them at the start of Doom Priest's turn. Just build her fast as hell. She doesn't need accuracy in her kit or anything like that. You just have to worry about keeping her alive and getting as many turns as possible, and she will give you crazy, crazy value. Sepulchre Citadel, great Demon Lord Clan Boss champ, brings decreased attack on the A1, increased defense, crush your entire team. Also, just a great champ overall. Also brings block buffs as well. Sorry, block debuffs overall as well in the same part of her kit. Great champion. Got her maxed out on my account. Do not regret it. Rector Drath, one of the better support champions in the game. Probably one of the, maybe just like the best out-and-out healer support champion in all of the game. Brings a big old heal. Place a perfect veil buff on allies for 2 turns if allies have full HP after the heal. Or place continuous heal buff if they're not quite full HP after the heal. On the tier 2. Really good. Also buoyed further by the fact that she has a revive and that this passive exists. So whenever an ally under Veil or Perfect Veil gets a turn, heal them by 10% of their max health. Also increase the resistance of allies under Veil and Perfect Veil by 50 as well. So more healing than it seems on the surface. Decreased attack as well as a big bonus on the A1. Just a great support champion overall, man. Thalesia. This is a solid champ. 2 attack all enemy skills on your Thalesia on a A2 and on a A3, and a 2, I think it is, or maybe it's array 3, whatever. One of them brings an AoE decreased defense as well. She can hit pretty hard, she's quite fragile, but great nuker debuffer hybrid in Thalesia. Definitely worth a mention. Scroll on down a little bit. I tell you what, I'll throw in Franox as well as another honorable mention. Apparently she hits like a truck. I've never built her myself before, but I've heard people talk about her. I've heard the rumors, so to speak. Maybe she's going to be a champion that I build out one day on the account just to test her out more than anything. I'll go ahead and throw in an honorable mention for the time being. Skullcrown, great champion as well. Kind of just like Sinesh's Sis with the attack all enemies on the A1. Very good. Also brings an attack all enemies chance of placing weaken debuff on the A2. Also, great champion. Powerful stuff. Nuff said. Brings an interesting passive as well where she gets an unkillable when she would otherwise take fatal damage. Good old Golden Reaper is a great all-round support champion. She brings increased speed as well as some key debuffs against enemies as well. Again, yeah, just a great all-round support champ. Kind of similar to Sabbatha, who brings increased attack, increased defense, I think, on the same skill as well as a revive. And so, yeah, some great powerful support champions, man, that are epic quality for the Knights Revenant faction. I'm not going to go ahead and skip over Whisper though. This gal is absolutely insane. Crazy boss killer, as you might be able to tell by her passive, which is 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a crit. Also increases damage inflicted on bosses by 20%. And she's got like some extra, extra 10 mechanics woven into her kit as well. She has a chance of placing weaken on the A1. A3 is a double hitter, granted extra 10 if the target is under decreased defense and weaken debuffs, and so extra 10s from that as well. Yeah, Whisper's just a nut job. She's got really like unique builds where you build her in like a relentless set, so she gets extra chances of getting an extra turn as well, and she can just get like multiple turns in a row and just absolutely slaps the hell out of bosses. And yeah, she's just nuts. Next event that brings us on to the Dwarves faction, which the Dwarves are a little bit strange. I feel like the Dwarf epics are really kind of a faction of like specialist epics. Rearguard Sergeant is amazing into Demon Lord for all of the defensive buffs that you want to bring. Ally Protect, that kind of thing. Very solid. As long as like you need all of those bases covered and all of those books checked into Demon Lord for the team that you're looking for. Geomancer is obviously just one of the best epic champions in the game. I don't know if I should spend much time covering him, to be honest, but he's just crazy as hell. Brings HP burn and weaken on his A3, 10-minute decrease on his A2 as well. Very powerful A3, very powerful passive where whenever he gets smacked by the boss, deflects a whole bunch of the damage and deals max HP enemy damage like back at the boss. Just stupid. I use him still as like my core damage healer in my Demon Lord clan boss team to this day. Very good. Melga is definitely worth a mention as well. Brings all kinds of defensive heals, defensive buffs, and a revive as well for your Dwarves faction, so definitely worth a shout out. Morag, also worth a shout out. Great defense-based nuker. Very stalwart, very tanky. Great damage as well. Also brings in ally attack skill, which is very useful, of course, for progression in Fire Knight and that kind of thing. And everybody gets Morag. That's also like the cherry on the top, you just gotta play the game for a while and you'll get her through Clarion player points. Very nice. Runekeeper Dazdeck, increased attack buffs, huge amount of debuff cleanse, very solid dwarf support. Gala is an interesting one. I'm not sure if she's worth a spot on the list. I'm gonna actually build her out on my main account soon-ish, and then we'll find out for sure. I'll do like a busted or bad episode, I guess, on Gala eventually. Double hitter A1 that ignores some enemy defense, and she also buffs herself up with a shield when she uses her A1. But when you play with Gala Longbreach, you kind of want somebody to be in either a shield or a bolster set on the team so that she starts off the fight with a shield. All of her kit kind of relies on her having a shield active at all times in order to be super useful. So the A2 is an attack one enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense if Gala is attacking while under a shield buff. She can also get some healing and some shielding as well, just from using this A2, so that's nice for maintaining the shield. And the A3 is a triple hitter. Each hit ignores 25% of the target's defense, grant an extra turn if this champion has full HP after using this skill. And lastly, Demitha. I mean, she's absolutely insane. Demitha obviously used in all kinds of like block damage, unkillable teams, paired up with Maneater, that kind of thing, to create unkillable teams. In Demon Lord Clan Boss, and a great support champion just overall, right? Brings a whole lot of healing, continuous heal buffs, and blah to your team as well. Just a great champion. Next up, that brings us to the Shadowkin faction, which, oh bloody hell, there's a lot of champions to touch on here, man, and I don't wanna. I'm starting to get exhausted, man. I don't wanna do it. Can somebody like take over or something? This video is gonna be like an hour long, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, whatever, dude, whatever. We're just gonna do it, man, because we're gamers, right? Good old Taragi. So Taragi brings decreased attack on his A1. Absolute Demon Lord clan boss specialist, by the way, but not just that, he's also fantastic in many other areas of the game too. Brings an attack all enemies, AoE provoke on the A2, which is lovely. And then on the A3, plays shield buff on this champion, plays ally protect on all allies. Great for survivability into the likes of Demon Lord, into Ice Golem, that kind of thing, but his passive and the fact that he's an HP based champion is naturally very survivable anyway, makes it so that he can solo the crap out of Scarab King on your account. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns, can occur once per hit. This means that theoretically, as long as your Taragi lives and can't die and is built in like regeneration and immortal gear and that kind of stuff, and he just heals every turn and just lives, he can solo the crap out of I don't know, Ice Golem, Scarab King, probably some more of the bosses that I'm not thinking about because my brain's fried. Very, very good, given how much of a problem progressing past Scarab King can be for some people. Next up, we've got Hitatsu. Great all-round support champion. Brings Leech on the A1, brings healing and increased defense at a 3-turn on the A2, brings decreased attack on the A2, rather. It was the A3 that where we get the heals and stuff, but just brings a lot of survivability to your team. Also brings a defense aura in all battles by 25%, so just a solid champ. Again, survival into Ice Golem, Demon Lord, all of that good stuff. Chani is a solid option as a HP burner champ, I believe. She just bring HP burn, right? Yeah, she does, okay. Yeah, we'll just leave that review with that. Venchi is kind of like the little bro to Allure. Pretty good champion for progression into things like normal mode Fire Knight. Pretty good, not quite as good as Allure, but definitely worth a mention. Burungiri, this is another champion that's kind of like Lady Annabelle. In fact, he's exactly like Lady Annabelle because his passive is literally identical, meaning this is another one of those champions that can solo Dreadhorn Bommel just because of how his kit works. You just build him in regeneration gear, and as long as you farmed up masteries on your Burungiri, then hypothetically, you can beat the hardest, just most impossible difficulties of Dreadhorn Bommel simply by throwing in a Burungiri against them, and he'll do just fine. Great champion in his own right as well, brings an AoE chance of placing stun on the A2, brings strengthen, also buffing all allies for a couple turns as well as some AoE shielding on the A3. Just a solid champion overall, man. Kanoichi, right beside Burungiri, all up and over here, is a champion that I've built out as well on my main account. I actually used the Kanoichi to get all of the stars in my Shadowkin faction wars, and so yeah, she's got a special place in my heart, man. Brings AoE leech debuff and I can attack all enemies, ally protect, that kind of thing. Great champion for just getting some more survivability on your Shadowkin team if you are lacking other options. Kinagashi is a Shadowkin reviver, can be pretty damn useful as well for just getting those 3 stars, getting max stars on your faction wars for Shadowkin. And then we've got a couple of the Void epics for the Shadowkin. I won't shout out both of them. Genbo is absolutely insane. It's just like an arena nuker. Self buffs, big AoE hits, great damage overall. Aboro, little bit less clear as to why she's insane, but frankly, it mostly comes down to the A1. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. Why is this so insane? Because eventually you're going to get the Lady Mikage fusion done on your account. Eventually, it might take a long time, but you'll eventually get it done. And then Mikage brings a big old ally attack skill that you can combo up with Oboro and get insane use out of ally attacking in as much as possible with this A1 and just dealing some pretty gosh darn stupendous damage. Into Hydra, particularly, that is, right, where the AoE damage is going to be super important. And that brings us on to the Sylvan Watchers, where, I wish it wasn't the case at this point, man. My brain is leaking down the back of my throat right now, but the epic champions here are very good, so I will try and cover the ones that are great. Karen the Shrike, man. I don't know, this is a champion that I've never built out before. I've never been that, infused by his kit, but then again, does bring decreased speed. Very nice. Big old 10-meter control as well on his A2, which is quite nice. Also brings an attack all enemies. A3. Damage can rather smack with this A3, which, something that I do underestimate. And also brings a weaken debuff as well on the A1. Just a good all-round damage dealer. Next up, we've got Creodan. Good old hard mode Fire Knight specialist, man. He's another one of those. Triple hitter A1, each hit with a 35% chance of placing freeze debuff for a turn. Very good into hard mode Fire Knight. Just like the rest of his kit is just very good everywhere. I don't know, man. Double hitter on the A2, attack all enemies 2 times, each hit with a 65% chance buck to placing freeze debuff for a turn. Just absolutely ungodly wave control. And then the A3, just to top it off, brings increased speed and 10 meter fill on the A3 as well. Creodan the blue, more like Creodan the badass, okay? He's just crazy, okay? Very, very good. Dudan is a very, very interesting little support style champ. Brings like a taunt buff, all kinds of counter attack mechanics, which is great because his A1 will like cleanse random buffs off of your team as well every time he attacks in with his A1. So very, very funky little champion, man. I do like the dude. He's worth a shout out. Daithy is crazy as hell. Nuts, to be honest. Attack all enemies A2, 100% land rate, decreased defense, grant an extra 10 if this decreased defense debuff is placed on all enemies by this skill. But it doesn't stop there. The A3 places increased attack and increased accuracy buff on this champion for 3 turns, then get himself an extra 10. And so even though when bucked his A2 is technically a 4-turn cooldown, it's more like a 2-turn cooldown, man, by the time you're done getting all of those extra turns. You know what I'm saying? Pan the Boarhorn, honestly, is a pretty damn good damage dealer as well, and is another more like budget option. Not as good as Creodan, of course, but can be used as like a double hitter freeze champion into hard mode Fire Knight. Not bad damage as well against waves of enemies and stuff like that. Just not a bad champion overall, to be honest. Priest Ornn, this is a champion I'm building out soon. Solo champion god, great poison damage dealer against clan boss, all of that kind of stuff. Attacks all enemies, places double poisons against all enemies, as well as poison sensitivity. Very, very good, man. Also brings poison activation on his A2, and his passive, whenever a poison debuff is activated on an enemy, increases champion's HP and defense by 5%, stacking up to 25%. Yeah. He's like one of the best epic poisoners in the game. Excellent stuff. Ruella's insane as well, man. Triple hitter A1 with a chance to steal enemy 10 meter. Unbelievable. Also brings decreased defense, weaken, and decreased speed on a single target. Triple hitter A2 as well. All of the big old debuffs that you want to be bringing against Spider, Fire Knight, that kind of thing. Crazy good progression champ, man. Very, very good is Ruella. Next to Renon, even Renon is worth mentioning. She is one of the revivers for the Sylvan Watchers faction. If you need one for Faction Wars, she's great. She also brings increased speed and 10 meter boost as well. Solid support champion. Goddamn White Triad, Nia, dude, there's too many good champions here. What are we doing, man? She brings ally protect and strength and buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Very, very reliable. Debuff cleanse and cooldown reset for a single target on the A2. Lovely. Attack all enemies A1, chance of placing decreased speed debuff for a couple turns. She just kind of brings everything. She's an incredibly good Hydra support champion, but to be honest, her kit is kind of solid everywhere. Ayla is not a bad support champion. She brings like some debuff cleanse, block buffs debuff, block debuffs buff, all of that kind of stuff, some good healing, but her cooldowns are a little bit long. I guess she's worth a shout out. Diana Gloom-Piercer though is going to be the champion to wrap up this video, man. She's a self-buffer with increased crit damage, then attacks in all enemies after buffing herself up, which is great. Places Veil buff on herself and all allies for a turn as well if she gets any kills with this A3, and then she brings an ally attack skill as well with the A2. Just a solid damage dealer, as well she should be as a Void epic champ for the Sylvan Watchers. And with that, this bloody video is done. Thanks for watching, guys. If there's anybody still left watching, I appreciate y'all, man. Make sure to hit subscribe on the channel and all that good stuff. And if you're looking to start off a new Raid Shadow Legends account, then make sure to get it done using my beginner promo link, which you can find down below at the top of the video description box. I'm gonna go get a drink, calm the hell down, and I'm gonna catch all of you guys just a tad bit later, man.